The USS Nimitz Tic-Tac encounter, military UAP investigation, fighter pilots track a craft defying physics off California's coast, captured on military cameras and confirmed by the Pentagon. 100 miles southwest of San Diego, beneath the crystalline November sky of 2004, the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group cuts through Pacific waters during what appears to be routine training exercises. The operations are standard, the weather clear, the mission parameters familiar to every sailor and aviator aboard. But in the Combat Information Center of the USS Princeton, Senior Chief Operations Specialist Kevin Day watches his SB-1 billion radar display with growing unease. The images flickering across his screen represent something that should not exist. For nearly 2 weeks, the Princeton's advanced radar system tracks objects that violate every principle of aerial movement Day has learned in his military career. The radar returns show targets descending from altitudes above 80,000 feet, dropping to hover at approximately 50 feet above the ocean surface in mere seconds. They remain stationary, defying wind and atmospheric conditions, then depart at velocities that register as impossible. The objects appear without the radar signatures associated with conventional aircraft. No transponder codes identify them. No flight plans account for their presence. Day catalogs each detection, each anomalous track, building a pattern that suggests these are not instrument malfunctions or atmospheric phenomena. The objects operate within the Carrier Strike Group's protected airspace with apparent disregard for the most powerful military force afloat. Day brings the tracks to the attention of his superiors. The reports circulate through the chain of command. On November 14, 2004, when the radar again detects one of the unidentified objects, the decision comes down from operations to scramble fighters for visual intercept. Commander David Fravor receives the vector to intercept while airborne in his F/A-18F Super Hornet. Fravor commands the VF-41 Black Aces Squadron, an elite strike fighter unit with a distinguished combat history. His wingman, Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, maintains formation as they turn toward the coordinates provided by the Princeton. The communication from the ship indicates a real-world tasking, not a training scenario. Fravor scans the horizon, expecting perhaps an unidentified commercial aircraft or a foreign reconnaissance platform that has strayed into restricted airspace. What he observes instead becomes the most significant encounter of his 18-year naval aviation career. Descending toward the coordinates, Fravor notices a disturbance on the ocean surface below, a churning whitewater disruption approximately 50 to 80 feet in diameter. The Pacific should be relatively calm at this location, and the disturbance appears too symmetrical, too localized to represent natural wave action. Above this churning patch of ocean, hovering with no visible means of propulsion, floats a white object approximately 40 feet in length. The craft presents an oblong shape that Fravor immediately describes as resembling a tic-tac mint. The object possesses no wings, no rotors, no exhaust plumes, no visible control surfaces of any kind. Its surface appears uniformly white, unmarked by insignia or structural seams. As Fravor begins a descending spiral to approach the object, it mirrors his movement, ascending to meet him in a pattern that suggests awareness of his presence. Fravor abandons the spiral and turns his Super Hornet directly toward the object, intending to close distance and force an identification. The tic-tac craft responds with a maneuver that defies the physical limitations Fravor understands govern flight. The object accelerates instantaneously, departing the area at a velocity that leaves no sonic boom, no visible distortion, no turbulence in its wake. It simply vanishes from visual range. Fravor immediately radios the Princeton, reporting the encounter. The response from the Combat Information Center carries a note of disbelief that matches Fravor's own shock. The object, they inform him, has reappeared on radar at his Combat Air Patrol point, a pre-briefed location 60 miles distant. The craft has crossed 60 miles in under 2 seconds, appearing at the exact coordinates that only Fravor and his mission planners knew represented his designated patrol station. The implication stuns the pilots and the radar operators alike. The object not only demonstrates propulsion capabilities beyond any known aircraft, but it appears at a location suggesting either extraordinary coincidence or access to classified mission information. Fravor attempts to relocate the object, but it has disappeared from both visual observation and radar tracking. The churning disturbance on the ocean surface has also vanished by the time Fravor circles back to investigate. As Fravor returns to the Nimitz, a second pair of Super Hornets launches to continue the search. Lieutenant Chad Underwood pilots one of these aircraft, equipped with an advanced forward-looking infrared targeting pod. Underwood acquires the object on his FLIR system and captures approximately 30 seconds of footage showing the craft maneuvering against the ocean background. The targeting system struggles to maintain lock as the object moves in ways that defeat the tracking algorithms designed to follow conventional aircraft. Underwood's footage, later designated Fly-Rone, becomes the primary visual documentation of the encounter. The video shows a white oval shape moving across the infrared display, rotating slightly, presenting no heat signature consistent with jet engines or rocket propulsion. The object moves against the wind direction indicated by the ocean surface patterns visible in the thermal image. When the targeting system briefly achieves lock, the object executes a sudden acceleration to the left of frame, departing at a velocity that causes it to exit the camera's field of view in less than a second. Underwood returns to the carrier with the footage. In the ready rooms and briefing spaces of the Nimitz, pilots and officers review the gun camera video, searching for explanations that align with known aircraft or atmospheric phenomena. No consensus emerges. The encounter generates official reports through naval intelligence channels, documented as part of the carrier strike group's operational record, then fades into the classified bureaucracy of military incident files. For 13 years, the Nimitz encounter remains largely unknown outside the personnel who witnessed it. Commander Fravor returns to his career, eventually retiring from the Navy. Kevin Day completes his deployment, but the 2 weeks of tracking impossible radar returns leave psychological marks that prompt him to seek counseling. The objects he watched descending from above 80,000 feet to sea level, the tracks that appeared and disappeared without correlation to any known aircraft behavior, represent a vulnerability in the carrier strike group's defensive posture that disturbs him long after the deployment ends. The encounter resurfaces in 2017 when investigative journalist Leslie Keane obtains information about the incident and begins documenting the testimony of the personnel involved. In December 2017, the New York Times publishes a major investigation by Keane, Helene Cooper, and Ralph Blumenthal, revealing the existence of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, a Pentagon initiative that studied unidentified aerial phenomena. The article releases the Fly-Rone video publicly for the first time, showing millions of readers the footage captured by Underwood's targeting system. The publication transforms the Nimitz encounter from a classified military incident into the centerpiece of renewed public and official interest in unidentified aerial phenomena. Commander Fravor provides detailed testimony in television interviews and public forums, describing the Tic-Tac craft's maneuvers and his assessment that the technology demonstrated capabilities beyond anything in the American military inventory or within his conception of current human engineering. His credibility as a decorated combat aviator with nearly 2 decades of flight experience lends extraordinary weight to testimony that would otherwise strain belief. In 2020, the Pentagon officially confirms the authenticity of the Fly-Rone video, along with 2 other UAP videos designated Gimbal and Go Fast. The confirmation represents the first time in American military history that the Department of Defense officially acknowledges video evidence of unidentified craft demonstrating anomalous flight characteristics. The statement makes clear that the Navy considers the objects in the video's unidentified aerial phenomena and that the footage was never cleared for public release. The Nimitz encounter directly drives the creation of official UAP investigation infrastructure. The Navy establishes formal reporting guidelines for pilots encountering unidentified craft, removing the stigma that previously discouraged personnel from documenting such incidents. The UAP task force forms within the Office of Naval Intelligence to analyze encounters and assess potential threats. In 2022, Congress establishes the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, tasked with coordinating UAP investigation across all military branches and intelligence agencies. Congressional hearings in 2023 feature testimony referencing the Nimitz encounter as the catalyst for implementing systematic UAP reporting and analysis protocols. The case demonstrates that trained military observers operating sophisticated sensor systems under controlled conditions documented craft performing maneuvers inconsistent with known physics and propulsion technology. The multiple sensor confirmations, the credible witness testimony, the official documentation, and the Pentagon's acknowledgement combine to make the Nimitz encounter the most consequential single UAP case in American military history. The objects tracked by the Princeton's radar over 2 weeks in November 2004 departed the area before the carrier strike group completed its deployment. No physical evidence was recovered. The churning ocean disturbance Fravor observed beneath the hovering craft remained uninvestigated. The nature of the objects, their origin, and their purpose remain officially unidentified. What cannot be disputed is that something was present in the skies over the Pacific that November, something documented by multiple sensors and witnessed by trained observers, something that demonstrated capabilities that challenge current understanding of aerospace engineering and physics. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.